Patrick stuck a spoon into SpongeBob's head, scooped out some food, and started feeding the babies. Suddenly, a horrible smell filled the room. SpongeBob immediately flipped the baby over, used a vacuum cleaner to suck the mess off the diaper, then sprinkled some baby powder on it. After a lot of work, he finally finished changing all the diapers. When the baby's mother came home, she was impressed to see everything perfectly taken care of. She happily gave them a generous payment. Not long after, the two of them got another babysitting job. As soon as they walked into the employer's house, SpongeBob noticed a baby sitting in a wheelchair. Patrick was completely shocked. The baby suddenly woke up and started screaming. SpongeBob quickly shoved a pacifier into the baby's mouth. Then Patrick decided to teach the baby how to build with blocks. But to their surprise, the baby used the blocks to build a prison cell. After a wild struggle, SpongeBob finally managed to escape. Just then, he caught the little one secretly trying to sneak out the door. SpongeBob gently placed the baby back into the crib. But when SpongeBob walked into the bathroom, he was completely stunned. There wasn't a single baby item inside. What was even more shocking was that the so-called baby was actually a 137-year-old woman. The old woman had been using the opportunity to sneak out of the house, where she enjoyed all kinds of extreme sports, including skydiving. SpongeBob and Patrick chased after her the entire way. They eventually found her at a boxing gym. The elderly woman was incredibly agile. She knocked both of them down one after another, until she finally ran out of energy and fell into a deep sleep. Only then did SpongeBob and Patrick manage to work together and carry her back home. The famously cheap Mr. Krabs kicked out all of his customers that day. He cruelly traded SpongeBob away in exchange for a 5-star chef. Mr. Krabs warmly welcomed the chef to the Krusty Krab, but the chef clearly looked down on him. Still, to avoid being rude, he unwillingly gave both of them a kiss. Meanwhile, SpongeBob arrived at the new restaurant where he was supposed to work. He carefully stepped into the kitchen. The head chef there was extremely strict. Not only did he verbally insult the employees, but he also physically hit them. The moment SpongeBob saw the chef's explosive temper, he started shaking in fear. Unexpectedly, the chef actually kissed SpongeBob. Before SpongeBob could even feel happy, he was immediately slapped in the face. The chef ordered him to make his signature dish. SpongeBob didn't dare waste even a second. He rushed to the stove, threw all the ingredients into the pot, and carefully stir-fried everything. A Krabby Patty was ready. SpongeBob waited excitedly for some praise, but the chef looked completely unimpressed. With a disgusted expression, he told SpongeBob to eat the Krabby Patty himself. SpongeBob quickly tried making a cake instead, but when it came out of the oven, it was still a Krabby Patty. The chef became furious and paced back and forth. SpongeBob then tried frying an egg, but somehow, the final result was still a Krabby Patty. SpongeBob completely broke down. He grabbed a bunch of Krabby Patties and started throwing them everywhere. One of them accidentally landed right into the chef's mouth. No one could resist the delicious taste of a Krabby Patty, and this chef was no exception. He completely forgot about his dignity and got down on the floor to finish every bite. Back at the Krusty Krab, it turned out Mr. Krabs had been cutting costs. All the decorations and furniture were just cardboard props. When the chef sat down, the chair instantly collapsed. He immediately announced that he was quitting. The Krusty Krab was already on the verge of bankruptcy. Everything inside the restaurant was taken away to pay off debts. Even Squidward was handed over by Mr. Krabs to cover what he owed. Just then, the chef who had quit came back. Mr. Krabs was touched, thinking the chef hadn't abandoned him, but it turned out he only came back to collect his unpaid wages. With nothing left, Mr. Krabs collapsed and cried his eyes out. Only then did he realize how important SpongeBob truly was. Meanwhile, a huge line had formed outside the fancy restaurant. Customers were elegantly enjoying Krabby Patties. After witnessing how popular the Krabby Patty had become, the chef sincerely kissed SpongeBob, but at that moment, the alarm clock rang. The employee exchange period was over. SpongeBob picked up his suitcase and walked away without looking back. The chef immediately grabbed him and pulled him back. He told SpongeBob that the customers couldn't live without Krabby Patties anymore. That finally made SpongeBob realize something. These delicious Krabby Patties always belonged at the Krusty Krab. He stuffed all the Krabby Patties into his suitcase and headed back. Many customers tried to stop him from leaving, but no obstacle could change SpongeBob's determination to return. At that moment, Mr. Krabs suddenly heard SpongeBob's voice. He turned around and saw that SpongeBob was back, and behind him was a huge crowd of customers. Sandy kept scratching her body with a fork. The fur that fell off was used to decorate the cake. When SpongeBob saw that the cake was ruined and couldn't be eaten anymore, he started practicing karate with Sandy instead. But Sandy's itch was getting worse and worse. She felt like something was biting her, so she leaned closer to take a careful look. She finally discovered a flea biting into her skin. Sandy immediately reached out to smack it, but the flea escaped in an instant. She kept hitting her legs over and over. She even tried to bite the flea with her mouth. This left SpongeBob and Patrick completely confused. Sandy was suffering badly. She asked SpongeBob to bring over her luggage. She quickly put on a flea collar. The flea finally jumped away from her, but it landed right on SpongeBob. At first, SpongeBob wanted to keep the flea as a pet, but he was immediately bitten by the flea. Sandy quickly put a flea collar on SpongeBob too. However, the flea jumped onto Patrick. It started torturing him non-stop. Soon, Patrick's entire body was covered in swollen bumps. Patrick struggled desperately to get rid of the flea. In the end, he simply grabbed SpongeBob's collar and put it on himself. With nowhere else to go, the flea jumped back onto Sandy, but there was only one collar left. The three of them started fighting over it. What was even worse was that the flea began laying eggs. Soon, tiny baby fleas hatched. In a desperate attempt, Sandy used the collar to tie the three of them together. She thought this would get rid of the fleas, but the fleas kept multiplying. Their numbers grew larger and larger. They even chewed through the collar. The three of them started running for their lives, but they were quickly surrounded by the swarm of fleas. Their bodies were covered with bites and swollen bumps. Just as SpongeBob and Patrick were about to escape, the fleas blocked their path again. At that moment, Squidward happened to walk by. He saw the three of them desperately calling for help, but he pretended he didn't notice them. Patrick first blamed Sandy for bringing the bugs there. Then he blamed SpongeBob for bringing him to Sandy's tree dome. Sandy suggested suggested that they work together to find a solution. Then Patrick suddenly came up with an idea. He told SpongeBob to climb onto Sandy's back first. Then he climbed up too and started eating an apple. It actually made him feel much better.
Much better.
Sandy was completely speechless after seeing this, but the flea army kept growing bigger and bigger. It looked like they were about to swallow the three of them whole. At the most dangerous moment, SpongeBob casually said that he wished he could just soak in water.
Is this how we're going to spend the rest of our lives? Living in fleas instead of water?
Those words suddenly gave Sandy an idea. She put on her glass helmet. Using her karate skills, she split through the swarm of fleas. Then she opened the door of the tree dome. Seawater rushed inside instantly. In the end, all the fleas were wiped out by the water, but the seawater kept pouring in. Soon, all the residents of Bikini Bottom were swept into the tree dome as well.
It sure is good to have you back, Sandy.
Mr. Krabs dumped the leftover grease from the Krabby Patty kitchen right in front of the chum bucket. His goal was to save money on cleaning costs, but unexpectedly, it ended up making Plankton's business extremely successful. That morning, Plankton stepped right into a huge puddle of used grease. He slipped and fell straight to the ground. Then he discovered that this stuff smelled terrible, but somehow tasted incredibly delicious. Soon, a long line of customers formed outside the chum bucket. Meanwhile, the Krusty Krab was completely empty. Mr. Krabs thought his secret formula had been leaked, so he personally went to investigate. It turned out that Plankton had created a brand new food called the Chum Burger, and the shocking part was that it was made entirely from leftover grease. It tasted 10,000 times better than a Krabby Patty. So Mr. Krabs immediately came up with a plan to fight back. He ordered SpongeBob to fry 2 patties at the same time. One patty was added to the burger, while the grease from the other patty was poured all over the first one. And just like that, a deluxe greasy Krabby Patty was born. SpongeBob worried that customers eating such oily food would harm their health. But Mr. Krabs completely revealed his true nature of chasing profits. That very afternoon, he changed the Krusty Krab's signature menu item, and all the customers waiting in line at the chum bucket immediately ran over. The Krusty Krab was packed with customers again. Everyone was eating so much that grease was dripping from their mouths. After learning what happened, Plankton decided to fight back. He immediately launched the 4 times greasier Chum Burger. When customers saw the giant advertisement, they instantly rushed back to the chum bucket and lined up again. Mr. Krabs refused to give up the competition. He ordered SpongeBob to produce even more grease, but right after he turned around, he slipped and fell hard. It turned out he had stepped on a slice of bread covered in grease. Suddenly, Mr. Krabs had a brilliant idea. He created a new greasy product called the Oil Flavor Supreme and stole all the customers back. Not wanting to lose, Plankton also went all out. In the blink of an eye, he released a new product called Deep Fried Grease Scraps. The customers were completely attracted and kept losing customers again. Mr. Krabs actually started selling leftover grease soup, but when SpongeBob walked out of the kitchen, he saw the entire restaurant covered in grease. Every customer looked exhausted after eating all that unhealthy food. Even Patrick lost his balance and fell over because he had eaten too many greasy scraps. SpongeBob decided to put justice before friendship. He chose to protect his conscience and stand by his principles. The next day, a health inspector arrived and stepped out of his car to examine the piles of leftover grease everywhere. Mr. Krabs and Plankton immediately panicked. They never expected that SpongeBob was the one who called the inspector. As soon as SpongeBob tried to explain, Mr. Krabs threw him into a trash can. Then Plankton quickly slammed the lid shut. They kicked SpongeBob away and claimed it was just normal business competition, but the truth could never stay hidden forever. Soon, the two of them started blaming each other again. However, the health inspector did not care about their argument. He ordered both restaurants to shut down for cleaning and repairs. They would remain closed until everything was properly cleaned up. No matter how fierce business competition becomes, it should never come at the cost of people's health. Cleanliness and integrity are the true foundations of a business that lasts.